So it's Wednesday. It's time for the midweek message from the Road Less Traveled. And this week I wanted to talk about mothers a little bit. This topic is probably going to be a little touchy, or what I'm going to say might be a little bit touchy. And I'm not. You guys should know me by now. I've done enough of these. I'm definitely not saying what I'm saying to offend. It's just kind of something that kind of came to me over the course of this last week, and I wanted to share with you guys. So the midweek message is for the mothers out there, and it is going to be surrounding the topic of practicing selflessness. Yes, I said selflessness. I know those two things don't usually go hand in hand. They're on opposite sides of the spectrum, but that's what I wanted to talk about today. And to begin this, I'll begin with a story. In 2016, I was at my 20-year high school reunion. Yes, it's been 20 years since I graduated from high school, and was there at the Cracker Barrel with some classmates of mine, and got a chance to sit down and have some interesting conversations. And one of the conversations that I had with one of my former classmates was around the topic of placing your spouse when in a blended family in the front seat of your life. And so basically the scenario is, theoretically speaking, or for the sake of example, right? Your kids, if you already have children, are used to sitting in the front seat, metaphorically, and sometimes maybe even literally in your life, right? They're used to sitting in the front seat there. And so when you get married to somebody, right, the children are relocated to the back seats, and the spouse sits in the front seat. And sometimes that spouse is going to actually be doing the driving, which could be or can be a very difficult thing. I was raised in a blended household and had a stepdad who came into my life when I was 11 or 12 years old, and I think I experienced exactly that same scenario, which was my mom placed him in the front seat of our lives, and sometimes that significant other is going to drive. They're going to be not just in a partnership, but sometimes they're also going to be in the driver's seat and driving some of the decisions, making some of those decisions, being in charge. And so that was the conversation that I had, and that in recalling that conversation, it made me think about how mothers at times don't place themselves in the front seat of their own lives as it pertains to being a mom. And that made me think about a scenario around, the priority in which mothers kind of families or mothers view their children, right? So talk to guys about this. I've asked this question several times. If there was a dangerous situation and you had an opportunity to save your wife or save your kids, instinctively, who would you save? Instinctively, a lot of the guys said they would save their wives. Ask the same question of women. Instinctively, they would save their kids. Interesting, that dynamic. And I think subconsciously men think that they can save the wife and have more kids. And I think that the wives and the mothers instinctively think, I'll save my kids, I may be able to get another husband. Now, I don't think it's a conscious thing that happens. I just think from an instinct standpoint that's kind of how we roll. So understanding that a mom is going to save her kids because they are, even in a marriage, even if those are his kids, even in that dynamic, though the kids are, I hate to use this, more important, but it's probably in her mind, instinctively they are more important than her husband. And so because of that mama bear instinct, that plays out into another scenario in which if you were on an airplane and you were given instructions, anytime you get on an airplane, you were given instructions, make sure you put the oxygen mask on yourself, then make sure you place it on your children. And even for me as a dad, being the protector that I am instinctively, I can't say that I would do that for sure. But I know that most mothers would also say that would be a very difficult thing for them to do, which would be to put the oxygen mask on themselves and then put it on the kids. But the truth is, if you don't put it on yourself, you may not be around to place it on them, and they may not be able to put it on themselves, and therefore in an emergency situation, all three of you have perished because the natural instinct to be selfless and put the mask on them as opposed to putting it on yourself could be detrimental to everybody. So now we're here. We've arrived at this space where I want for moms to put themselves in the front seat of their own lives. I'm saying that I know instinctively you're going to work, you're going to take care of your children, you're going to protect them, especially single moms. I know that's what you're going to do. I found out later, much later in life, through my aunt, that when my mom used to take me to breakfast, and we did not have a lot of money growing up, but when my mom used to take me to breakfast, and I didn't notice this, but that my mom would pay for breakfast at this place called the Filling Station in Long Beach, California. She would take me to this place called the Filling Station, and she would actually pay for me to eat. And I didn't notice that she wasn't eating, and there just wasn't enough money for both of us to eat. So she would get water or whatever she would get, and so she would make sure that I ate. And I understand instinctively that's what we're going to do. In particular, moms, that's what you're going to do. What I would like you guys to do is to start placing yourselves at times in the front seat of your own life. I want you at times to make sure that you are putting the oxygen mask on yourself first so that you can be there to put the oxygen mask on your children. I would like you guys to make sure that you're taking time when you have the time. And I know being a mom is hard. Being a single mom is even harder. That there are those moments and times that I would like for you guys to practice some self-care, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Because if you don't even have the energy to place the oxygen mask on yourself, you're not going to be able to put it on your kids effectively. You might be fumbling around with it, and the cord might get tangled, or maybe it gets pinched. And so that is what I want mothers to do. I want you all to make sure that you are putting the oxygen mask on yourself at times. I know it's not something that's going to be practiced all day, every day, because of the importance and the hierarchy of how children play in your lives. But that is what I would like to see you guys do. Make sure you are taking care of yourself, that you're placing yourself in the front seat of your own life at times, that you're putting the oxygen mask on yourself first by taking care of you so that you can be your best self for your kids. And if there is a husband or a significant other in the picture, you can be your best self for them also. So that's my midweek message, to practice selflessness. And so I'll wrap it up by saying sometimes the most selfless thing that you can do is to be selfish. All right, you guys, we'll talk to you next Wednesday on the midweek message. Thanks for tuning in and checking the video out.